Welcome back, I'm Tedward, and welcome to the first drive of the season in my 2001 E39 M5. I'm so excited to have this car back out and on the road, and the thing that made me need to come and drive this was that I drove that BMW Z8 the other day, and I was like, come on, this S62 V8 is still one of the greatest engines ever put in any vehicle, and they were lucky enough to put it in multiple vehicles, not just the E39. If you've got a Z8, mwah, what a cool thing to have. But the more affordable option, if you want an S62, are these E39 M5s, which have somehow really just stood the test of time. They look so good. Every time I see this car, it's like a surprise. It's like, wow, I'm so lucky that I have this car and that I didn't sell it probably like a dozen times when I thought, I don't really need it. But now, I just feel like I should put tons of miles on it. It does need a couple of things. One thing that's lovely about this car is that it's been paint corrected, so it shows really nicely. Craft Detailing went absolutely crazy on this carbon black paint a couple years ago. And, you know, it's nice when your sort of like destroyed, peppered, and swirled vehicle can shine again and look pretty darn stylish and new. It's nice to be able to bring this to a car show and actually be proud of it. But most of the maintenance that's been done on this car has been engine stuff. It's always chasing oil leaks. So we've done valve cover gaskets, we've done all the oil pan gaskets and stuff. We've got airplanes taking off and landing over here. And that's great, but what it really could use is a suspension refresh. And this is where I'm not fully sure what it needs yet. It definitely is gonna need some shocks because these are ancient. This McPherson strut design, it's a pretty standard setup, but they are probably original from 2001. And while I don't think they're like blown out, they're probably very tired. And a lot of people go with some pretty extreme setups with these cars. And maybe if I were a bit younger, I would go with some wild Bilstein coilover, a PSS 10, like a B16, or even a stiff B8 strut. But I just don't know that that's the answer for me. I want it to ride kind of supple. I like the fact that this has a compliant nature and that it's first and foremost a daily driver, secondarily a cool Nürburgring surprise wolf in sheep's clothing thing. And that's why I think what I'm probably gonna do is just for starters, I'm gonna throw in a set of Coney yellows because they're adjustable. We can probably get those to be nice and soft. See how that rides on the stock springs. Then come back to it with maybe some Dynon lowering springs if that is, you know, desirable. And I should probably also just refresh the brakes. I don't want to go with some crazy big brake setup. I'm just going to go with some new rotors, pads, maybe new calipers just to freshen it all up and make it feel a little newer. But that's great. The only thing that I feel like that's aging on this car are these wheels. And I'm not talking about the style. No, these are the perfect wheels for these cars. It's the paint. This happens to all of them. They just chip away. And that looks really ugly. And I feel bad for Ryan at Garage 42 because every time he washes the car, he's like, you know that these are chipping away. I'm like, yep, just be gentle with them. They will they will start falling apart. But I am gonna at some point send those out to be totally refinished. Although it's not the priority. It doesn't matter. It doesn't impact the way the car drives. It just looks a certain way. The only visible sign of typical sort of bubbling on the car is this tiny baby amount right here, which is very common because for whatever reason, BMW really did a terrible job of drainage on this section of the car. So whenever it's wet, whether you wash it or it's raining, this just pools and you get a little puddle, and then this section right on this seam is what tends to rust. So I might bring that by Mike's Auto Body and see what he says. He's either going to say don't bother, that has 20 years before anything matters, or he might sand it down and remove it. Sorry for all the noise. I thought I was picking a quiet spot. There's also a couple spots on the car that the previous owner many years ago had tried to touch up and do on the car that just, I don't know, they just don't look that good. There's a couple spots, I think, on the roof over here. I can't even remember where it is. Maybe it's not as bad as I recall. But yeah, there's definitely a couple spots that it looked like he took, you know, the touch-up paint that he bought at the dealership, and it just didn't come out super great. I love how versatile and easy this car is to use. The only problem I have right now and why I'm not bringing it home today is that I can't put my bike in it. And I've been riding my bike everywhere, and when I have a car that I can't put a bike in or on, well, then I'm not going to ride it, and that kind of impacts the whole fitness game. But let's get it started, and I want to show you what it's like to just take this thing out for a cruise, because it's a true joy. Proper key, dude. It's so nice to get in a car that's like old school. And when I say old school, it feels so crazy that like having a key in my hand and an ignition is now an old school thing to do. Probably gonna bark at me for two things. One, washer fluid low. Two, the fog lights. And I don't know why it's triggering the fog lights, because I'm pretty sure it says check front fog lamps. I'm pretty sure those function. Let's just take a quick peek. Now, one of them is cracked and kind of always has been. That one's on, that one's on, that one's cracked. Oh yeah, check out this Piper Warrior 3 getting off the ground. I used to be a pilot. That was my childhood thing. Anyway, down here, that's cracked. It's maybe just had some water get in and it's unhappy. I'm not totally sure, but these are the little things that I want to start correcting on the car, so that way I just don't have to worry about anything. What I love though is just how subtle this is from the back. Listen to this exhaust. The stock exhaust in this car is perfect, and although I do appreciate and entertain the idea of like straight piping these or putting some fancy exhaust, one of the coolest things about E39 M5s is that this exhaust is basically one piece from start to finish. And if you want to just do the rear section, well, you're going to be chopping it up. And that's a real bummer, because it's cool to have an intact exhaust like mine, and not to mention the fact that this is no longer some like fast little hot rod out in the world. This is like kind of a, you know, it's still quick, but it's a normal car by today's standards in terms of its performance and speed. It doesn't need to be shouty, and I like that I can use it as such. It just, oh man. And thank God that there's people like on Instagram and on YouTube who have really just maintained the love for these cars in a way that means that like I have a primer, whatever you want to call it, for keeping it alive for a long, long time. It's got 83,731 miles on it right now, and we should probably put like 100,000 miles on it in the next few years and just enjoy it. Some of the things that make this car so special, I mean, mostly it's powertrain. This S62, it's silky smooth. It's loaded with torque. So later on, you get E90, E92 M3s like I had, and that has an S65. And that car revved out to like 8,600 RPM. This one only revs out to around 7,200. And that's fine. That's fine. But what that car didn't have was like juicy low down torque. You had to rev it out. That means in third gear, at low revs, you can just jump into this throttle and it rips. We do have to be a little gentle around here because we want to be respectable BMW owners in our business suits while we're out on the road. Okay, we've got our climate control on. Lovely. Please don't hit this squirrel. Don't need any messes. And one of the chipmunk. Oh, well, that one didn't make it. Okay, sorry, dude. Well, that's like the first murder on the channel, I think. How do we recover from that? Well, I was about to tell you that the air conditioning is one of the best I've had in any car I've ever owned, but now I feel like we need a moment of silence for the chipmunk. Rest in peace, little dude. Maybe a good time to talk about tires. So I've got Continental Extreme contacts on the whole car, 245 section up front, 275 section in the rear. And that does a great job of maintaining traction under pretty much all conditions with this amount of torque. The camber in the rear is pretty aggressive, so you wear the insides. So one of the things that you don't want to do in these cars, which is why most of them went to shit, is they were owned by like teenagers who bought them for $15,000, and they all went out and just drag raced these cars. They just ripped through gears. They were abusive, and like I was probably a little abusive to this car when I first bought it. But these do not like violent, aggressive 1-2 shifts. These want to be babied a little bit. They want patience. They want some time. And I know that's hard to do when you're in your exciting, fast, wolf in sheep's clothing BMW. But remember, this is not a 0 to 60 drag strip car. This is like a Nürburgring Backroad Grand Touring car. And that means getting it out on the lap, warming it up, not abusing it until you're already in motion. Then you can full send. Then you enjoy that like 2-3, that 3-4. But like, just don't go slamming that 1-2 so hard, because it will bite you in terms of just wearing out synchros and feeling gross. Traction control light coming on for that, which is kind of surprising, honestly. Oh. A little crashy over the bumps right now. And that, I think, I can just attribute to a tired suspension. What I'm hoping is that I don't need to replace all these bushings, because like the car isn't 150,000 miles. It's 83,000. Time is a bitch, but I think the wear and tear on this car is low enough that I should be able to get away with just some struts and call it at that for now. I love GM cruisers. I love it when it's not a Ford. I love seeing a Tahoe cruiser. I don't know what it is. There's something special about it. It's totally meaningless, but I just think it looks cool. Is that a chicken? What the hell is going on with the roadkill today? It's amazing how you just don't need all the revs in this car. You really don't need to wind it out all the way. It has so much in that like 4,000 to 6,000 RPM range. So when you go for that upshift around there, it's like, it's just gold. It's so good. Ugh. Perfect highway cruiser. I do feel like I don't want to waste miles in this car just sitting on the highway. Like, it's perfectly fine jumping in this car and going for a long drive. I've driven it down to Pittsburgh to see Dr. M3. I've driven it to like Ithaca to go see friends graduate from Cornell. Like, it's done some road trips. It's done some long ones, and it's good at it. But sometimes it does just feel like wasted miles, where this car should somehow still be kind of sitting out on back roads, despite it being really good at doing washer fluid low. Same kind of message it would give me if the engine was like literally exploding at this moment. So my heart still sinks. They just changed the chime into the next generation of cars. But yeah, I don't know. This is why I don't like daily drive this car, because I just feel like it's a waste to just drive it back and forth from my house to Bond Group over and over and over again. It seems like a waste. It deserves better than that. When you get into a car after it's been sitting for a while, though, it does feel like you've got to get the cobwebs out, especially on the highway. This is where you're going to be like, huh, there's some vibrations, but it's like flat spots on the tires. It's going to be just, things need to move. And I've even heard people talk about their cars where they've had like vibrations that eventually they realized it was the wheel bearings. Like all the grease like settled or something, and then they replaced the wheel bearings and everything was fine. Like, dude, so much can happen when you let a car sit. So, you know, I'm not someone who's going to judge somebody for having garage queens, because like I kind of have garage queens, unfortunately. But you do need to move things. If you don't move them, they just start falling apart a little bit, and it just, or they just get less comfortable. So maybe I just need to get a roof rack for the bike so I can take this on some long excursions out and about, and go up to Vermont and Maine and ride some desolate roads and find some great coastline and stuff, and like really just enjoy what it means to own an E39 M5. Yeah, we'll get off here. I don't want to be on the highway. It's funny how I used to think like, oh, this isn't the reviest engine. It has individual throttle bodies. It's a big sort of like lumpy engine for sure. But what's funny is now that everything's turbocharged, this is like so much more revvy to me, because the little turbocharged engines, they don't just snap like this, you know. And a great example of that is if you get into some 991.1 Porsches with the 3.8, and then get into the 3-liter 991.2 Porsches with the twin turbo 3-liter. Just go play with the throttles on those cars. Like, it's just easier to dial in the naturally aspirated car. Feels so good. We've done so many little things to this car over the years. I say we. Well, Wild Motorsport, really. They've done lots of gaskets, sometimes multiple times. They've replaced all kinds of little rubber stuff, and actually they fully redid this shifter, and it feels so good. That was getting worn out. Oh, that's such a great color on those new Civics. There's something so unique about owning a car for 10 years like this, because I forget about what it is to drive this car occasionally, and then when I get back into it, it's like going through a photo album from the past. There's some real history. Let's see how big this bump is. Not bad. There's just some real history in my experience with the car, and my frustrations with the car, and my love for the car. But particularly as someone who professionally reviews cars, I'm so glad to own this M5. It's a true north of a bygone era, which wasn't that long ago. It is pretty impressive. It just gives you a real sense of what can change in 20 years. And not necessarily for the better. And again, that's subjective, right? There could be plenty of people out there that think everything that came after this is superior. And in some ways, they're right technologically. But as a driver, I much prefer this experience. I am going to trust the bump sign. Not bad. Oh my God, this town, they understand. They understand how to do it. If that was in my town, that would have been a cliff, and it would have smashed the front of my car. It would have destroyed the wheels. Good job, Stowe and Bolton. Saving the classics. Like, honestly, why I've been driving my Lexus so much is because there's so many potholes, and I'm like, wow, not only would it cost me money, but it's just going to cost me the day, because in this car or the Honda or the Porsche, it would have been hours of waiting for a tow truck or trying to swap a tire, and most of these cars don't have spares. So it's just the game where you get in the Lexus, you're like, I can hit anything and I can always get there. I genuinely thought that was a Beetle for the longest time, until that 997 got alarmingly close. I thought, what a cool bumper they put on that new Beetle. Oh no, That's embarrassing, but also upsetting, because I hate when people do that Clarkson thing where they're just like, oh, nice Beetle. But like, I genuinely thought that was a Beetle. I do feel like the power steering pump or something is a little loud. You can hear it whining. So, you know, just little things we got to look into. And like, I guess if this was my daily driver, it would make me like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I'm like kind of okay if something fails on the car, we just replace it, you know? It's not a Ferrari, it's not a Porsche, it's not a Lamborghini. If something goes wrong, we'll take care of it. And that's the mentality I've been trying to adopt recently. Ooh, they've got a dog. We're gonna give them lots of room. I just get nervous that their leash is too long and they're gonna see something like the dead chipmunk that I crushed and be like, hey, I gotta go into the road. Wouldn't that be full circle? Oh, big holes, holy cow. How do they expect people to drive over this stuff? Jeez. I get comments all the time from people in different countries and they're like, where is this? This is America? That's what your roads look like? And I'm like, yup, it's that bad. I turned off the air conditioner and I think that whining was the AC. So power steering, probably A-okay. I know we've checked on that in the past, so would be weird if that was acting up. But anyway, I can live without that for now. If we want to just get that noise out of the way, we'll check on that when it's back in the shop. But dude, this drive is really reminding me that driving isn't always just so utilitarian. Every drive I take that, you know, is not on video where I'm driving some wild car, I mean, I'm literally just driving up and down the highway to go get to a car or get to a photo shoot or whatever. And like, that gets so old. It gets so old. And it's not fun. And it's the reason I think why most people drive boring things, because the driving they do suits a boring car. My driving suits like the Lexus for the most part. But I need to remind myself that I have access to great storage in a great location where I can just take my cars out, do a 30-mile loop if I want, go get lunch, which is exactly what I'm going to go treat myself to right now, and not be beholden to crisscrossing Massachusetts on the Mass Pike. I can just enjoy cars out in their natural habitats where they belong and not in the road rage-filled nightmare that is our interstate system. Like, this is good. This is good. I know you're like, oh, you're driving like my grandma. Yeah, I am, and it's awesome. I'm having the best time. I'm having the best time driving my car like a grandma. It feels so good. I've got torque under my right foot. I don't have to spool some turbo to get any juice out of the car. I've got a substantial, beautiful BMW with a leather dashboard that is somehow not dried and cracked. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This is the stuff. Well, I need to go pick up some lunch. And this was the perfect Band-Aid ripping event to feel like I'm back out in my car, because this is the problem with storing cars when you have a bunch of cars, is that sometimes it feels like, oh, every time I go anywhere, I'm just gonna find a new problem. And that is a genuine bummer when you're like, I just want to get out in my car, but then you're fearing whether or not you're going to find new problems. Every time you start a car that you haven't started in a while, there's that risk of like, oh no, what is going on? Why does everyone just stand around? Oh my God, we live in hell. Just back out of the spot, dude. You have so much room. You've got cameras, you've got sensors, you've got every possible aid to get you out of that spot, and it is taking this long. Unreal. Oh, let's see what this is all about. Yes! Oh, we love a Cobra, even if they're recreations, because they're mostly recreations, because real ones are 7-figure cars. Who doesn't love a 427 Cobra? let's go. So, all right, I had lunch. I didn't need to bring you in there with me for that, but I'm on my way back to put this away for a little bit. We're gonna do some work on it, but the good news is I didn't find anything new. There's nothing that happened driving this car today that made me think, oh God, here we go. I thought we were gonna have a good season, but now it's got this, now it's got that. So far, so good. And once we get under the car, we'll really be able to suss that out and prove that theory. But I do think that I might be able to get away with just some shock absorbers. And that might do enough for this car to just make it that much more enjoyable and less crashy and, you know, saggy over bumps. Not to mention just chucking it into corners, it feels like there's a little extra body roll right now on what is probably the original dampers. So thank you for joining me on the maiden voyage of the M5 in the year 2025. It always feels good to get back in a car that you've loved for so long, but for me, there's always a little bit of panic because what if this car is gonna cost me 10 grand this year? You never really know. Sometimes you start something up and it's just a big problem. And this one, luckily, has been fairly stout. We'll see what that means for the Porsche. Hopefully we're lucky on that end too. But you know what? I need to get into the mentality of if something's broken, we're just gonna fix it. I'm gonna go slow. Never know. Sometimes the local PD just sitting here waiting for a 35 and a 25. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Thanks to Garage42 for taking care of my baby. I do think that contributes to why this thing stays in such good shape because, you know, if I say, hey, can you move it around a little bit? They can do that. They keep it on a battery tender. It's in a climate-controlled environment. So, like, all the leather and rubber and all that stuff isn't freezing and thawing and freezing and thawing and contracting and expanding and all that junk. So it is a real testament to good storage, I think, that keeps these cars alive, even though I'm not using them as routinely as I'm sure the car would like to be used. Love that last downshift before coming in here. It's always the good one. Across the moat and back to safety. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see ya in the next one. Oh, look at that. Handbrake even works? We're not going to actually trust that. We're going to shut it down in gear. Check front fog lamps. I did! They're fine! BMWs.